One of the reasons that we are collecting this examination twice is trying to deal with some of the challenges that were there, not only in last year's examination, but in the examinations that we have been doing in the years before. The early exposure question, because that has been our biggest challenge. And one of the ways that we think we shall address it this year is when the exam is picked twice. Because the challenge that we had, the examination was picked at 6 in the morning. Sometimes it would stay with the teachers and our security teams, but once in a while there were lapses, and sometimes some of these papers would be exposed early. And I usually tell people there is a huge difference between a leakage and an early exposure. An early exposure is where you gain access to the exam the same day that the examination will be done. But one assurance that I will give Kenyans is that in the last, since 2016, we've not had any leakage of an examination. Our biggest challenge has been early exposure. And that is what the parliamentary committee also identified. And the presidential working party also identified the same problem. And that is why this year we are going to pick these examinations twice. As we pick it twice, I would want to give you assurance, my colleague and friend from the KBC, is that we acquired 82 containers, additional containers this year, so that we can map our schools to the nearest container. In fact, this year, and the CEO will mention, is that we are not aligning our containers to the administrative structures where we are saying you are in this sub-county or the other sub-county. We are aligning them to the proximity to the picking point, so that this school could be in Westlands or whichever other place, but if there is a container across which is nearer, they must not go to Westlands. They go to that particular container which is nearest to them. And one of the ways of trying to mitigate this new approach of picking it twice was to make sure that we deal with the question of proximity and that it is as near as it can be to the school. Almost 70% of the adult population today went through the KCP. It has given us the necessary experience, and as we were developing the competence-based education, we have had a lot of assessments on the knowledge-based, the 844 system, and the way that the world is going into areas of critical thinking, areas of application of competencies, ensuring that we develop skills as we build on knowledge, because knowledge is still very important. But the most important thing is that with the CPC that we are going into and that we have already done, is that every learner's potential needs to be nurtured. Because sometimes when we do an exam like this one now of grade 8, class 8, you know, a kid who is 12 years old, when you tell that kid they have failed, they don't even understand what failure is. So what we are saying is that going forward, we need to develop every learner's potential. And that's why we are moving from examinations to more of assessment. And assessment just tells us the progress of a learner, how far has a learner gone. And that's why going forward also, we are going into a blended system of assessment where we shall have school-based assessment, which is formative, and the summative examinations, which will not be so much, so that every other time we don't make these things high-stake. That a kid who is preparing to do an exam on Monday, we really have to take a lot of care on them, because if anything happens, that is the only point of assessment that they have gone through. But with the new CBC system, we assess them at grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, and all that will count in one way or the other as they progress to the next level of learning. That is the most important thing. So those are the lessons we have learned with the KCP, with the 24 million Kenyans who have gone through it, which I have said is almost 70% of the adult population. It has given us lessons, and out of those lessons, we are trying to improve as we go to competence-based education.